Hey, what's up, guys? Jody Dean here. Welcome to the Scream Scene. Today, I got a special guest here, man. Filmmaker Caleb Phillips. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for being here tonight. I I seen this trailer the other day. Play Me, and I start going down the rabbit hole, and I'm looking at some stuff you've done, and I'm looking at your story, and I'm like, I got to get a hold of this guy, man. We got to talk. We got to bring him on the pod. First, where did you grow up, man, and what got you into filmmaking?
I grew up in a town in called Redding in California. I was homeschooled, oldest of seven kids, and yeah, from like it's kind of cliche, but just from like 8 years old, Star Wars, strangely Home Alone. Yeah, I was really obsessed with making home movies. It's like I said, it sounds really cliche because it's everyone's story, it seems, but yeah, from a very early age, I wanted to be a director. And there's like, I think we have home video of me saying that to my mom. Uh, yeah. And I stayed around Reading until about 22, 23, just making skits with my friends and short films and a bunch of stuff like that.
That's really cool when you got some home video. You got some old video footage of the beginning, man. And you know what's crazy is, and I find this with most people that want to do this, it's something we've wanted to do our whole lives. Like, I guess for me, it was the mom and pop VHS stores looking at the horror films on the shelf. What was a moment, or what was something that really grabbed you back then that said, was it messing around with that video camera, or was there like a particular movie or something to happen?
Yeah, I feel like it was just a hobby and just trying to like understand it for a while. But it was around like 13, 14 that my dad showed me Signs of the Lambs and Seven. And like those movies hit me real hard. Like I just didn't know movies could be that good. And I think that's when I started to get really interested in the craft of it. Because those movies like affected me on a deep, deep level. Yeah, then I started taking a little bit more seriously after that.
Do you feel like that it affected you so much that it's kind of maybe ingrained in you now to how you approach your films, and when you're writing these, you're trying to deliver those effects to people?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like yeah, I'm always hunting for these like scenes and these moments and these endings that affected me that way. And yeah, I feel like I just have like maybe like a really short list of like 10 movies that I'm just trying to make and then failing at making and then making my version at them. But yeah, like the ending of Seven, just like I just couldn't believe that a movie could do that and make me feel so so violated in a way. Like it was just like such a downer, but like so powerful. Uh, yeah, um, that and then like I guess like a few years later, like Black Mirror like hit me also really hard. So there's like definitely a common theme of those like intense dour endings.
Telling a story through a lens, affecting people's emotions. It's a crazy powerful thing that gives an indie filmmaker or any filmmaker a high, and it's something that you'll chase, and you'll try and go deeper with that, and push the buttons. Here's one thing I noticed about you, bro, because I watched a few things, is you have a style. Like, I love it when I can see somebody's style. Like, I feel like from this point forward, like if I seen something, I'd be like, that's a Caleb Phillips film.
Yeah, man, that's what I was hoping for, like with Play Me. I definitely wasn't. I don't think style is something that I'm consciously trying to do, and I don't think anyone's really trying to do. Um, yeah, whenever I set out to make Play Me, like the goal was career-wise to be like, okay, like I need people to see consistency, that they turn it on and immediately they'll be able to tell like, oh, this is like from Caleb. And yeah, it's not, I could probably break down what makes up the style, but that would just be breaking down what I like in movies and what I want to do in movies. Um, yeah.
I think it's a conglomerate of things, man. It's because you're writing these, you're
Mhm.
directing them. Are you filming as well, or are you lending some jobs out there?
So a little background on me. I started out wanting to be a cinematographer. That's what I went to film school for. And when I graduated, that's what I thought I was going to do. And I ended up getting a kind of a surprise directing job because the director dropped out and I had a chance to do it. And I had like directed a bunch of skits and some stuff in film school, but it was at that moment that I like realized that I wanted to do that a lot more than DPing. So while I'm very comfortable and know like what makes good cinematography, there's no way I could do both jobs. Like I'm
Yeah.
always like hunting for like a good collaborator. And you want that, like an editor too, you know, like somebody who can check your math on things.
That's a great way to put it. So you made your first feature film, I believe it was 2017. You've
Yep.
won awards for your short films. Tell us, what was life like growing up in the Cali scene with this dream, these goals of making films and stuff like that? Is there the scene's got to be huge there, because we know that as like the movie mecca, but I mean for indie films and up and coming filmmakers, is the scene quite big?
Well, okay, so California, I am like across like the state from LA. So while California is very much like the hub of filmmaking, not where I grew up. Like I
Mhm.
grew up in Redding is like maybe like 300,000 people. It's sort of like a almost a mountain town. Like it's very nature heavy, but it's small and there's like no film scene. Or at least when I was
Wow.
growing up, there was no film scene at all. So yeah, like getting people to be involved in it was actually really somewhat difficult, or at least to take it seriously, because it was mostly just trying to get my friends who I'd drink beers and party with on the weekend to like come out and shoot a skit for like a day or two. And like nobody could act, and like some people could act, but nobody treated it as their passion or their goal. It was kind of just me. And I think that's why I moved to LA, is that like I needed more collaborators. I needed to be where the movies were happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that you have a catalog of work, it becomes a lot easier to get people involved, especially when you have good work. Like
Mhm.
you've got great pieces now in your catalog here. Has it got a lot easier? Are we going to see a lot more features from you moving forward?
I hope so. Definitely hasn't gotten easier. There's this quote I always go back to from like Fincher's director's commentary on Panic Room, where he just kind of like realizes that every movie's hard. That like it's just like every one of the other movies he's made. It's always going to be hard. So
Mm,
it's been easier to make better stuff because I have access to better gear and better collaborators. But no, like in terms of like money and the actual like making of it, it's like always hard because you're always trying to do it better than you did last time. So you're always trying your absolute best to make the thing.
yeah, people think because you use the word low budget sometimes that makes it easy. Even low budgets are I mean, it took me a long time to realize why filmmakers would ask for money when they were making low budgets, because you can't spend the money you got to live on. You got to have money to
Mhm.
make these things.
And
And
a lot of times it's your own money.
well, exact. I mean, for me, that's what it's been, man. I've fund all my own stuff into this point, but I do have one coming up where I'm like, you know what, I might ask for help. But there's nothing wrong with that, man. I mean, this is one of those things where it's a gamble, dude. I mean, if you had $1 million to make a film right now, it doesn't mean it's going to be successful.
Mhm. Yeah.
So did you where did you really find success with this? Was it once you got your name, like you're known as an award-winning filmmaker now, from a short that you had that did really
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
out of the box?
Other side.
Other side of the box.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I got the name wrong, but
Oh, please.
I mean, that's gotta be an incredible moment right there, and that does a lot for credibility.
Yeah, yeah, winning South by Southwest was a huge jump forward in my career. Like people wanted to see what I had, which is really helpful. That doesn't mean it like became easier to get things made because it kind of didn't. But Yeah, people were willing to take meetings and willing to read scripts. And it was also a really good moment of validation because I made Box with no expectation. I had just moved to LA and I'd made the feature before, which I was not proud of. And I like was in this state where I couldn't really trust myself.
Mhm.
And because I had this idea of what I wanted to be, it came out not that. And I was surprised. Like I didn't realize how easy it was to make a bad movie.
Mhm.
And I took some time just kind of not doing anything for a few years. And I just made Box because I was so frustrated at not making anything that I had this image in my head and I was like, let's just do it in a house. Most inexpensive horror movies are in a house. And like it just kind of built itself out from there. But yeah, it was mostly validating that I didn't have a lot of faith even in the finished film. And whenever it won South by, I was kind of thrown, and it changed how I saw my taste and how I saw my own work.
Wow. Diamonds are created out of pressure. Um, all right. I seen you went to film school. Um, Whenever I talk about film school with people, it's either it was great or it was like, I learned the most when I wasn't in film school. But
Mhm.
I do talk to people sometimes. This guy I just did an interview with. He said, man, it really it it was a big help. Like he learned all the technical stuff early on that most of us have to go through trial and error. How was film school for you? Do you feel like it's benefited, or is your best workings and everything come from your trial and errors?
I definitely relate more to the second one of learning 99% of everything outside of film school. But I think that the biggest thing film school gives you is a place to figure out what you want to do. Like
Mm,
there's a yeah, you're getting in debt, and that's a big deal. But there is this period of time where there's not a ton of pressure. You're not working a job and worrying about making ends meet. You know, if you take it a loan and get in debt, and you just have time to try a bunch of different stuff because almost everyone I know who came out of film school wanted to do something different when they went into film school.
wow.
And I kind of like figured out how to like read people and how to hire people. And, you know, I also met really good friends and, you know, like collaborators come and go and friends come and go. But it was a really, really good time in my life. And I learned a lot about filmmaking and about myself. But I definitely know that I could have learned it without it. That like,
Right.
yeah.
It's very interesting, man. I didn't go either. Everything I've learned is self-taught filmmaker, all trial and error.
Mhm.
But I remember there was a time where when I was younger, I was like, man, I need to go, I need to go, I need to
Yeah.
go, and I just ended up just doing. But I do get it though, because like I also made a film that I wasn't proud of that I worked 2 years to bury,
Nice.
and what it is like you realize like, oh, it's it's overexposed, the sound quality is poor, like there's these little things when it's like, okay, um the film that you made that you weren't proud of, um was it situations like that, like you were like, my fire was there, my passion was there, I just wasn't ready?
I think we had the technical skill. We didn't have the experience. Like it looks
Mhm.
good, it's acted pretty well, directed pretty well. It's just kind of boring. Like a lot of the scenes are
Gotcha.
not paced well. They don't move the story forward. The themes aren't coherent and strong enough. There's a lot of ambition. Like we blew up an RV in it. We had shootouts with cops and tons of blanks, and you know it was a really good experience. But yeah, I spent 3 months editing it, and you really learn what makes a movie work and not work when you're
Mhm.
cutting together a kind of boring movie. And it really, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've heard this story a few times from Tarantino and other people. Like making a bad movie is a really good film school.
Uh, Dude, 100%, man. I love making mistakes. It's an
Mhm.
amazing thing. That's where you definitely learn the most. And the thing that does kind of suck there is, I mean, you can't blow up the RV twice, so you got to get it in
Yeah,
one
yeah,
shot, right?
yeah.
Uh, shooting things enough, having enough to work with. I was just telling this guy, man, we both agree, like, we shoot things how we're gonna edit. Are you like that? Like, you
Yeah.
can just see it, like, okay, I don't want to use the word run and gun, but like, if we got it, we got it.
Yeah, I've tried to kind of unlearn that just a little because I've one of my bad habits is that I want to make my day and I want to be under budget so much that sometimes I can get a little efficient with my
Mm.
shooting. So I cover things in ways that sometimes I cut the wrong corners is basically it. And that feature is a good example of that. Like all the scenes are shot just shot reverse shot and master, and it's kind of boring, but in a lot of ways, like shooting for the edit has also helped me find a really cool style, which means like longer takes and having characters move closer to the camera so you get your close up without having to do the close up and
Mm.
stuff like that. Sorry, I think forgot the question.
No, I think you answered. I did think you answered that very well. One thing you just said right there, I'm like, I go back to it because when I watched that trailer and then like I go down the rabbit hole a little bit, I'm like, okay, I notice a style there to where you said you might not would notice it. You're just doing your thing, you know what you like and everything. I think that's so powerful, man. Like, I hope for that. I was just telling this guy, I hope that one day people walk into a film festival or wherever they see this picture and they don't know what they're seeing, but they're like,
Hmm.
oh, that's a Jody S. Dean film. That's, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
awesome thing to have as a filmmaker. Uh, One thing with the trailer for Play Me is it looks very intense. It's filmed very well. You wrote and directed this film. It's coming out this October.
No, no, no. Play Me is out. Play Me is on YouTube. Yeah, it is. It's
Oh,
got about like 350K, which I'm like so thankful for.
that is very good. That is
Yeah.
awesome numbers.
Uh,
Okay, so I seen the trailer. I haven't even got to see the full film yet.
oh yeah, man. It's different. I'm happy it's different because I think it shows a range, but it's also not as like virally as the box, you know? It's a little bit more of a thriller than a horror, but I wanted to like explore a kind of more sci-fi story.
The slower burn type film,
Yeah.
a building of intensity. I like that. And I was gonna ask you. We'll get to that. So, being an independent filmmaker, working with what we have to work with sometimes, have you got to? Do you do your scripts like that where you sit down and are like, okay, let's don't put an RV in this one. We don't have one. Um, how can we
Uh,
simplify this? Let's take a car. Let's take two subjects.
mhm.
Is in the middle of nowhere. Is that kind of like
Yeah, well, I just like both films are really cheap. And yeah, you just start with what you have. Like Play Me started in an apartment, and there's this plot beat that happens where I realized it needed to be in a car, and then that changed the story. And then we're like, okay, well, getting land in Los Angeles is really difficult. So it's probably not gonna be set during the day. Okay, it's gonna be set during the night. And yeah, you just kind of like try to be creative within your limitations. And yeah, I mean, I hear this quote all the time, but like limitations like make you creative,
Mhm.
basically paraphrasing it. And that's kind of like everything I do. Like I'm working on trying to get a feature off the ground right now, and it's purely built around like how do we do something really suspenseful with minimal locations, minimal people, and make it really interesting. And yeah, so whenever we're going quickly back to style, I honestly think my style is mostly informed by a lack of money. Like there's not a lot of dolly moves, not a lot of shots, very few locations, and it's all kind of minimalistic because we don't have money, and I want to make it look good.
But yeah, but you know how to shoot it. You know how to make something very impactful, with very dude, that is a great thing to have whether you have the money or not.
Hmm.
If you can make something look very impactful like that, and dude, it looks really cinematic. It looks really clean. And again, I haven't even got to see the. Now I'm really stoked. So I'll be watching that tonight. But the trailer, like, I'm like, okay, great quality, very cinematic. It's got an intensity there. And it feels like it is one of those things that's going to be. a bit of a slow burning situation. That's where I see the thriller at least. With
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah. I also like one thing I definitely can attribute to style, although it's not on purpose, it's just what I like, is this I really like quiet, still suspense. And I thought that was just like a budgetary solution to making something kind of scary. But I realized even after like having access to a little bit more money or seeing examples of like much more expensive movies, like I don't respond as much to a lot of suspense I see, even with all the money. And I've started to realize that I'm very thankful that I haven't had that much money because I think I found a way to tell stories that is really impactful to me. And
Mhm.
yeah, most both movies are just kind of people sitting or standing still and trying to problem solve something that has extremely high stakes. And I really like quiet and stillness.
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of value there. I know people that live for those kind of films, and I'm excited to see it now. Tell us about some of the movies you've made and what kind of roles do you play beyond the writing and directing process?
Some of the roles, I mean, I'm definitely have like self-produced, like
Okay,
almost everything. Yeah, like I know how to hire like a DP, a production designer, where crafting needs to go. We need to order bathrooms for this location out in the desert. Yeah,
this
I've
film
all
doesn't get made without you.
I mean, yeah, definitely not, but I've slowly been able to like start to find other people to fill out those roles, which is really nice. But yeah, it's mostly writing, directing, producing. Trying to work on get a new project off the ground, and it's the first time I'm not producing, and I'm still kind of like there in the sense of like problem solving a few things, but it's been a really nice relief. I look forward to the day where I can just only direct.
Right. Um, Other side of the box was a horror thriller. Play Me is a thriller. Is there something down the line we could see from you that's just like brutal horror, or is that not you?
I think so. Yeah. The thing, definitely. The thing I'm working on now has a bit of violence in it that is pretty gruesome, but it's not like Evil Dead, Talk to Me, or Barbarian yet. But I would love to do. I love visceral horror. Like
Hmm.
I would love to do something like that. It just needs the right story. Um, yeah, but I would love to do something that gets really bloody.
Is there any films or filmmakers from this last decade here that are inspiring to you? Anybody you're a fan of, or uh,
But yeah, a lot. I mean, like for
hmm,
some reason, like I swear a lot, but for some reason, the only name that's coming to my head is Fede Alvarez. Like for me, Don't Breathe and the Evil Dead remake is like fucking just top tier horror. Like it is so bare bones and distilled tension and great pacing and just terrific films. Um, yeah, for some reason, that's the only person coming to mind.
I love that, and I love those films. By the way, I think you just said something, man. That this is where I identify style now. You said pacing.
Mm,
You notice a filmmaker's style from the tempo in their films sometimes.
mm.
Or at least I just got that.
I wonder after seeing Play Me if you'll see a tempo because like it's definitely not conscious, but yeah, pacing for me is like might be at the very top of like the pyramid of needs. Like an idea passes like the pacing filter first for me. Like, do I feel like this can move at a really solid speed and not run out of runway is the first thing I think. And yeah, I want ideas. I want movies and shorts and books that like feel full, that you're not
Hmm.
you trim all the fat and you feel like you're like right into it and you're not having your time wasted.
That's wow. That's a great way to put it. I would definitely I would describe my peso my peso my pace as a nonstop in your face thing where you're just like, it's almost unsettling. It's the
Hmm.
opposite of a slow burn. But that's what the kind of films I like, and that's what I make. But I think that's the great thing, man. Is um, sometimes in especially in horror, I don't know so much in thriller, but in horror, you see too many things are alike. Um,
Mm.
and whenever somebody can stick out with something new, that's great. Here's what I really love. I love how you took something simplistic and made it very, very freaking powerful. And I got that from just less than 2 minutes there.
That's one of my favorite things. I really like something small turning out to be a much bigger problem than you thought it was going to be. Like, I
Mm.
really like the idea of scaring people in ways they didn't expect. Um, and I keep trying to get smaller. Like, yeah, like just like little ideas that when you like really explore are deeply unsettling. And yeah, that's my favorite thing. And that's what I really like about shorts is I don't need to worry about paying off a really big story at the end. I can just kind of like explore a really creepy small idea.
One thing I've noticed, and this has been a conversation that's been coming up a lot, is um, you know distribution companies coming to you. It seems like nowadays, these companies are coming to indie filmmakers more than ever, but it's happening whenever there's just a, a buzz that's just so noticeable. Like it doesn't have to be gigantic, but like I'm noticing a lot of people hit the internet with a single flyer. You don't even know what the movie's about, and suddenly, boom, viral.
Mm,
And the companies are noticing this has to be in theaters.
mhm.
That's how a lot of these situations are happening now with these films that are suddenly going there. Like I can tell you straight up, I know some people, man, that had no intention at all on going to theaters. It was going to be straight to DVD, straight to streaming services, just like how I plan for everything I do. And and if they see there's traction, they come to you. Have you had more people stepping in since you're seeing traction? I mean, you said that one video, it's got 300 something thousand views on it. Like that's hard to do, bro.
I mean, yeah, but like it's complicated because Box has like a total of 19 million. Like
19 million views.
it's fucking wild. And to be honest, it gets you meetings, but me and a lot of my director peers, like we kind of all have the same gripe, which is it's still just as hard to get through the door. Like that kind of stuff. Let me add a caveat. I think there are a few lottery winners, people who not the quality of their movies. Their quality of their movies are great, but like a few people who just get that viral moment, connect with the right people, and it gets enough yeses. Because I've also seen plenty of really talented filmmakers who have made very successful, popular short films that cannot get it made. A lot, most of them actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's it's a bit of a coin toss, and I think you have to like roll it and try to get it made, but there's like no guarantee. So yeah, people come to you, but it's mostly for what else are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hit and miss on whether or not they'll like your next thing.
Do you think that if Other Side of the Box was a feature, that it would have had a different effect?
I think so. The biggest challenge is I never really found a take on the box feature version that really excited me. Like I spent like half a year, a little more over than half a year, trying to crack it. I tried like multiple different versions of it, and I just like didn't feel like it was a. It felt like a very watered down version. I wasn't very happy with it. So I'm like open to it in the future, but as of now, I'm just not seeing a version of it that like makes me as excited as the short did.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, like I think if I had like a home run idea for what the box would look like as a 90-minute, then it'd probably be easier to get made than like other things, but I still think it would be really challenging.
Yeah. So when you were seeing this success, man, like what was that like? Because there's a lot of filmmakers, bro, that they'll never see that. Like I mean, I can't tell you how many friends I have that have submitted their films and they don't even get nominated. They don't even get selected.
Mhm.
Um, you know, uh, they'll spend a year working on a project. They'll throw it on YouTube, and they might be lucky if they get 500 views on it. So when you're seeing those kind of numbers, you're seeing some awards. Uh, how how does it change the game for you?
Well, like, let me just say first off, like, it does feel great. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it is like being in a small moment where everyone cares feels really, really great. It feels really great to like have a bunch of people. Like, I consistently get people reaching out over social, like over years, just telling me how much it like they liked it, and that means a lot. Um, yeah, it really changes your confidence, I think, which is a big thing for filmmakers because
Yeah.
a lot of us have imposter syndrome where we're not sure if we're the only person in the world that likes the thing we like, and you get like external validation.
It inspires you that, like, hey, I'm doing something right. Like, keep
Yeah,
going, man. Let's step it up
well,
from here.
for you know, and it really helps while you're like making the next thing, and you have those
Hmm.
feelings again where you're like, oh, I just don't know if anyone's gonna find this interesting, and there's really no way to know, but you can remind yourself of where you were prior to your success
Hmm.
and know that like the only way to find out is to make the thing and to make it the way you really want to make it.
That's a good point. What's the best part and the worst part about being a filmmaker?
Mm, there's so many bests and so many worse. I guess I'll just pick one of the best parts is I really like cracking an idea. It is just such a because you walk around with like a story in your head that you're
Mhm.
like working on and you try to like be present for real life, but every now and then you'll go back to it as you're like driving or shopping for groceries and like cracking an idea and having that you've been working on for a while and realizing like how good it is feels fucking amazing and you can't wait to show it to everyone. You just want to like wrap it in a present and just give it to everyone. You're just so stoked to show it to people. Um, so yeah, for me, it's like being able to communicate like a really cool idea is whether it be like in script form and or showing it. Also, in having people respond to it is the best. The worst, I feel like there's a lot more worse. I'm very much in a jaded place right now. Yeah, I'd say the waiting is really bad.
Mm.
Like the waiting in between projects, the waiting while trying to get projects, whether it be a meeting or funding or a call or anything is really brutal. Maintaining balance is really hard. Also production, like a lot of just like making of the movie is not fun. It's it's really hard and really stressful and you get terrible sleep and you're so stressed all the time. Um, I mean, it's definitely worth it because I'm still doing it, but yeah, I feel I could definitely write you a laundry list of all the best and worst ones.
Counting on people, man. Having people you can count on is seems to be the worst thing that I have ran into doing
Mm,
this, and it seems like that's for everybody. I mean, yeah, we got the weather, yeah, we got audio conditions and equipment malfunctions and just the weirdest things, but counting on people to show up and to be
mhm.
there, man, just seems like
Especially
it's
when they're doing you favors. Like that's the hardest.
very, very true. Very true, man. It sucks when it's actors,
Oh
but
shit.
they do you a favor in some situations. Like I was just saying, man, like weeds pull themselves. And unfortunately, it's something you're gonna deal with. I haven't heard anybody just have a flawless run of
No.
talent on pipe, you know.
No, like Box was just a brutal production. Like everyone involved, people wise, were really great, but it was like 45, 50 setups a day. Like it was breakneck speed, like 5, 10 minutes, like in between each setup. It was not fun. And but then Play Me was a lot better scheduled because I, learned a lot, but it was still like really difficult. But like in post production, like I had like people quit, like just life events happen, and then suddenly you're doing like sound stuff yourself.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I've definitely been on both ends of like having favors or people that was counting on falling through.
Yeah. Yeah, and sounds it's a bitch. I mean, that's a sound can break a film. You can have a beautiful film, man, but like that's a beast to battle with.
And I still feel like I haven't really like climbed that hill. I feel like there's a lot of things you can get away with on a low budget, and sounds really not one of them.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm all on both films. I'm just like scraping by. Like I think it's put together and people like it, and that makes me feel good. But I need better sound in my movies. That's definitely it.
You probably, and I know this because it's the same thing with me. When we are editing our own movies, we see it more than anybody else. The average
Mhm.
person is going to watch our film one time. If they're a super fan, they're going to buy it on DVD, and occasionally they're going to pop it in. But when we're sitting there editing a scene, going over it 100 times to make sure we're good with where the cuts are, how it fades into the next clip, blah blah blah. You know, the sound. Um, we we are going to watch this movie forever, and we are always going to hear those flaws. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to those flaws though when it comes out. I've noticed people watch friends films, and my friends, they'll be very stressed and like, oh man, sounds terrible. One person mentions it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is that the bar we really want to clear is people loving a film, and
Right.
like, yeah, because like there's so many films that you don't see any flaws in that you're just like, eh. And that's what, like, for me, that's the death of it. Is like how can I make something that people will go like rabid for, like that
Yeah.
people will be obsessed with. So you're just trying to like hit 100% on like every single front.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think we should all, want to make the best films. I mean, I've gotten to a point where I'm super happy. I'm sure like we know we can make great stuff, but there's always room to get better. Especially when it comes to this filmmaking thing, and you're doing it like it sounds like we're doing it the same way. Like we film it, we edit it, we write it, we direct it. Do you do your
Mhm.
own music too?
No, I don't. I actually do edit. I forgot to include that before, but no, I don't. I don't know how to play a single instrument.
Wow. Okay. So that can be a very difficult thing for a filmmaker too, when if they don't have that, I mean, it's very hard to lock in original music for a piece. I know a guy right now has this film on TV, and the music is out of a library that he pays a yearly fee for, but he'll never own that music. So
Mhm.
it's like those are the kind of situations like somebody could find themselves in. Like he was like, I have a great picture here. I have to have music for it. So he took a route that was available. Um, when you come to those barriers, I mean, obviously we all find a way, right? It's got to get done. Uh, I mean, what do you do? Do you have the right team around you? Do you have enough connections now to where you can just solve an issue like that?
It's always, I mean, it has always been me reaching out to somebody I trust who has either directed or produced, and ask them to recommend me a composer,
Mm,
and be
gotcha.
like, and then do like a quick call with them, have them look at the material, and try to see if we're on the same page, and then just kind of figure it out. And you just never know. Even like when composing, you're just never sure if this is like the best music for the film, and you're both just doing your best. But yeah, it's always been recommendations.
Yeah, you're almost at mercy sometimes. And I'm asking questions like this too, like as if we were just talking on the phone, because, not only are horror lovers going to watch this, filmmakers will watch this, other people come across, and I want them to know how to deal with situations like this. And there's nothing better than people that actually they deal with it. Um, what about critics, haters? Have you had any runs with this? I was telling a friend about this movie that I loved. Came out last weekend, the weekend before. It's called Strangers Chapter 1. Went to the movie theater. I loved it. I next day and the next day, I'm seeing people tear it apart on the internet, and I'm like, what movie did they watch?
Hmm.
Like, is this something that you have dealt with, man? I know everybody deals with it, but when you start getting views, when you really start dealing with it.
I feel like there's a lot to learn from critics. Like, there's basically two versions. Like, criticism I agree with and criticism I don't. And the
Mhm.
criticism I agree with is like really helpful. Like, has helped me like grow a lot. And then the criticism I don't, it's just kind of, honestly, it sucks. You really
Mhm.
wish everyone would like love it, but I don't think a ton about it. I also don't read a lot of criticism.
That's
Like for
good.
me, like there's just not a ton to be gained from it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I the truth is that I'm more frustrated by criticism of movies I'm a fan of than my own movies.
Same. I'm shocking how wrong they are most of the time, and I don't think I don't think a lot of people realize most of these people that are wrong how I mean that movie just cost millions of dollars to make. Your criticisms, they come out the weekend of it, you're ripping it apart. Terrible, terrible film. They don't realize how impactful that is. I mean, like, when you're talking millions of dollars there, that's the worst time to get bad criticism. If it
Yeah,
happens to you or I, and maybe we don't have a lot to lose, and maybe it hurts a little bit, like, damn man, why, why why you punching me?
there's
But
like no way to. The thing is, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and when you
right.
go to a restaurant and your steak tastes bad, you turn to your friend and you're like, "This tastes bad," and it's just this,
Mm,
like, you. What they're really saying is this movie didn't work for me. They're giving you
yeah,
reasons and maybe they're mean about it, but that's really what they're saying is I didn't like this. And maybe they're not saying it in the most articulate way every time, but it didn't work for them. It I do wish there was like a little bit more curiosity into trying to figure out why it didn't work because sometimes I mean some of my favorite movies like I hated the first time I watched
yeah.
them. Like I really couldn't stand No Country for Old Men, and now like it's like a fucking like bi-yearly rewatch for me.
Wow.
Uh, but yeah, like um, people are gonna like and not like things, and I just wish the actual discourse was better. But like, it just means it didn't work for them.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wish they would do too is say why it didn't work for them. Because it is so impactful in this day and age of social media
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And I constantly see it. Like I'll walk out of the movie theater and I'm like, man, that was so incredible. And like as soon as I go on the internet, I'm like, what the hell? Like, how is this even possible? Did they see the same film?
Yeah, and the way I see it is, you're not wrong, and they're not wrong.
Right.
You
I got you.
like, yeah, it's and like, ugh, it does really suck when people like really hate the thing that you love, but I don't know. I've tried to just turn to something constructive,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out like what exactly about it wasn't working and what kind of movies do they expect to see. Like,
Mm,
especially when something's like extra challenging or extra ambiguous. Because there's like a lot of mainstream things that I don't like and a lot of indie things I don't like and vice versa. And I've definitely been on the opposite side of the majority multiple times. And yeah, I found it really constructive to just try to figure out exactly like what are people getting or not getting from this movie that they need.
right. Yeah. And I wouldn't be a good critic, man. The I love a good shitty indie horror film, man. I am
That's
such a
great. Yeah,
sucker for it.
yeah.
The worst somebody says a film is, I'm like, I got to see that. I got to see that. And
Yeah,
I
no.
even still find creativity, respect in those films. I love it because you said something earlier that I say a lot is when you don't have a lot to work with is when you're your most creative.
Mhm.
And most of
Yep.
them are considered shitty indie horror films because somebody's like, "Man, did you see that camera they used? That
Mhm.
this location looks like this guy's backyard." Um, but there's something great even in those. I feel so. I think that's my issue there, man. Is I can love anything, and even if I don't love it, I don't feel the need to hate it.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think that the biggest difference is once you start making movies, I think you are less cruel to
Mm,
other movies. I think that once you know like how hard it is to make a kind of okay movie, like you're like yeah, when I walk out of movies that I really didn't like I don't feel the need to be mean about it because like I'm like that sucks. It sucks that they made a movie that I don't think is good. Like I know how hard it is to make a movie.
that's you hit the nail on the head. Very well said. What would you like to do with the next 5 years film wise? Anything in the back pocket, feature wise? Any goals? Or are you one of those people, man, that think about the future? Uh-oh, we just lost sound on your end. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Okay,
My
I got scared
AirPods
there.
died, so I'm switching over.
No worries.
Um, yeah, the future is the only thing I think about. Like, I
Mm,
need to think about the present more, I think. But no, yeah, I would love to be making like $3 to $5 million horror slash suspense, um, for that have like cool twist and really suspenseful sequences, and do that for the next 5 years. I basically want to make like Ex Machina, although I think that's more than 5 million. Like, that's the kind of movie I want to make for like the next 5 years. And yeah, I think I'm gonna try. Like, I'm hoping that something I'm working on getting off the ground this year is gonna happen,
mhm.
and just continue to try to turn it into the next project. But yeah, no, I have a few scripts written that I'm very proud of, and a few others outlined that I really want to start cracking into. Yeah, and I think they're really cool and really different, different than each other. And yeah, and I think they got like really unsettling hooks to them.
Do you want to stay in the indie filmmaker vein, or with budgets like that, or do you, do you hope to be like funded by studios? Is that like a thing? Like,
I think I think I would prefer to stay in the indie vein. I would love more money if and prestige only for like just the caliber of talent,
got you.
like crew members, sets, actors. That would be spectacular. But like I don't write things with huge budgets in them.
Mhm.
I feel like a big ambition is probably TV. Like, I would love to take a shot at adapting some of my favorite books to TV, or some of the like original concepts that I've written out. Yeah, but like that's probably as big as I want to do. Like, I don't really want to do a Marvel movie, or yeah, or any like big action movie. Like, I don't really write action that well. I also like I don't know if I film action that well. It's something I'm working on. Um, yeah, no, I think I'm pretty comfortable if I could like break that like 1 to 5 million range. I think I got a lot of cool small horror films that I want to make.
What's the most money you've worked with thus far, making a film?
Like 100,000.
That's good. That's really
Yeah,
good.
but that's the barrier to break, because the thing that's keeping people from giving filmmakers a chance is that they haven't done it before. It's the catch
Mhm.
20. So yeah, you have to like find a way to do it yourself. The thing I'm working on will definitely have a bigger budget. Um, yeah, and I definitely know I can handle it, but yeah, it's a lot more.
What's the lowest budget you've ever worked with, and actually made something fairly decent?
Oh, fairly decent. It'd be Box. Box was like 3,000.
Wow, and it got 19 million views.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's crazy.
Freaking amazing. I mean, it goes to show you guys, like, and I love those. Those are my favorite kind. Like, I can see it and enjoy it, but whenever I hear the stories behind it, and like I see the numbers and what's on paper, I love it 10 times more, man, because it shows you how creative and how hard, I mean, dude, my first film, it was last year. $10,000 budget, sold 7,800 DVDs. Like, that's
Oh
freaking
shit!
incredible.
Wait,
Now,
wait,
don't
what
get
was
me
that?
wrong, I have a huge following on my main channel. Like, I got 250,000 followers over there. So it's like those were the people that bought it. If I didn't have that, would that have happened? Probably not. But like, you know, at the end of the day, it was a great product. Like, I'm still very, very happy with the film. It's not a bad film. The new film I'm releasing is a great film. I
Wait,
love
wait,
that.
is this film a feature?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Dude, badass. It's really dope that you're able to like make some money back in DVD sales, because that's like indie distribution has been on my mind like quite a bit lately. So that's really interesting.
Um, I do all my own distribution. I am lucky. Like, my wife, she did graduate from law school more recently and stuff. So I mean, that's a big help. But I also understand business. I think that indie filmmakers, I get it. It is so much easier for a company to come to us and say, "Hey, let us worry about the DVDs. Let's worry about the. You just keep making these films. Let us take care of it. Let's put it in Walmart." I get that. A lot of people I know that do that, it's just like the music business, right? So I don't know. It sounded like a gunshot just went off. That's crazy. I don't live in a bad neighborhood either. Uh, but I think it's just like the music business. Like, hey, we're gonna do this, and once we make our money back, you're gonna start making money. Their costs are absurd though. So it's
Mhm.
like if you can stay in the pocket of doing distribution yourself, you'd be quite surprised. Like we do everything ourselves. We do the DVDs and all of it, and it's professional. I mean, it's marketing ready, you know.
Yeah.
Um but seeing that we can do it lets me know that it can be done. And and yeah, I've had people tell me their horror stories. I know this one guy, like they did a film that did pretty good. He said he still hasn't got a check from the distribution company. It's the same deal everybody gets with that same
Yeah, I
distribution
think
company.
it goes into the marketing. Like marketing is like a bottomless pit. From what I understand, if you want to work with a distribution company, you need a marketing cap to know
Mm,
that like only a certain amount can be spent in marketing. Because
right.
I've definitely heard horror stories of creative accounting when it comes to indie marketing.
Yeah, yeah, it's scary, and that's good to know that early on too. You know, so before you do that film that's breaking that $100,000 thing, is like it's good to have this knowledge. There's some people that don't, bro. I know a guy that spent $1 million making a movie and he didn't sell 7,000 DVDs. I mean, I really, you know, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Like, there are some people that will never even. I think he said they made 40,000.
That's rough. See,
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I can imagine total failure.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm always prepared for it, but at the same time, like it's that's crazy. I think people think like if we have $1 million that we're making $1 million back, and it's not like that.
Yeah,
So
scary.
it is. Well, man, anything you want to plug that's coming up? Should we look and keep our eyes open for what you're working on, or can you not talk about that yet?
Yeah, man. I can't talk about what's coming up next. Hopefully something feature related. But for now, if anyone wants to stay up to date on anything I'm doing, I'm very active on Instagram. So
Mhm.
caleb.j.phillips at Instagram is like where I post every update, and I'm very responsive, like to DMs as well, as you as you know.
Yeah, yeah, you were very accessible.
Yeah. So that's the best way to like stay up to date.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, stay on here for a second. I definitely appreciate your time, Caleb.
Oh, also watch Play Me on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Fucking
Guys, definitely
Play
go
Me.
watch it. I'm about to go watch it. So yeah, man, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Very nice guy, and I do. I love that style. I mean, I think it's tempo. It's the script. It's the simplicity, but very impactful. I love that. I've sat down and wrote scripts before, and I keep that in the forefront of my mind too. We don't have a helicopter. Don't put that in. You know, and how many people do I know that are gonna run down the street screaming? Five? Okay, not 500. So, man, thank you for your time, Caleb. I appreciate that. Guys, this is the Scream Scene. Make sure your notifications are on. You're liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. We post every week right here. But until next time, sweet nightmares.